Hi, my name is Kalee Barnes. I am the student and young adult pastor here at Crossroads, and for 15 years I have struggled with anxiety, anxious thoughts, and panic attacks. In 2008, some things happened in my life and in my family where it felt like the rug was pulled out from underneath of us. People I trusted, I didn't trust anymore, and I just felt like the world was not what I thought it was. And from that point on, I started struggling with anxiety. I often felt a tightness in my chest. I would feel like I was trying to control my breathing. I realize now that a lot of times what would happen was I would have a thought that would take me 10 other thoughts down the road of all these what ifs of what could happen, and I was stuck in this constant cycle of fear because I had felt like things were uncertain. And because one traumatic thing had happened in my life, I was afraid that other traumatic things could happen, and I was living constantly worried about when the next shoe would fall. A few years later, I had the opportunity to be a part of a retreat in the community. I was asked to give a talk, and part of the process for that retreat was to practice the talk in front of other folks to make sure we were prepared. And the night that I was asked to give my talk in front of our friends, another person had gone before me, and I had everything prepared. I knew what I wanted to say, and it was going to be the first time that I was willing to share about my own personal journey with anxiety. And the person who went before me shared about a similar struggle and how for them, anxiety was not trusting God and something that they equated to a sin. And I remember I left that night feeling totally destroyed, feeling defeated, feeling like the things that I have struggled with were condemning, were so discouraging. And I left that night, and it was as if God met me in that moment and shared something really powerful with me. A few years before that night, I had an experience with my daughter that God had reminded me of. See, that day I had taken her older sister to school, and I pulled her up next to me to the stove and set her on a chair, and she was watching as we were making scrambled eggs, and I had taught her about how it would work, and I leaned over to put the eggs on a plate, and she took her tiny little hand and put it on the red hot stove. And instantly I knew it was bad. Her hand was melted, like it wasn't charred, it was melted. And of course she's screaming and I'm crying because I just wanted to do whatever I could to help her. And as I was preparing for this retreat, God took me and he said, that right there, that experience is how I feel when you feel anxious. He said, I know when she was hurting, you wanted to scoop her up in your arms and do anything that you could to take the pain away. And he said to me, that's how I feel when you feel anxious. I want you to know that I'm here, that I'm present, that I'm in the middle of what you're feeling with you, and that I want to offer you better, and that I want to help you know that healing can come. And I have this little picture of Mika with her hand all wrapped up. That is a reminder to me of the grace that God wants to show me in the middle of my anxiety, because my natural way of processing that is to be embarrassed and feel condemned and question, like, how can I love God and serve him and give my life to helping people know Jesus and still struggle with those questions of what if, or fearful thoughts, or just allowing anxiety sometimes to run my mind. And so I want us to know today that if you're struggling with anxiety, that God doesn't look at you with condemnation or a pointed finger or disappointment, but that he wants us to know he's willing to sit in the dirt with us, that he's willing to understand what we think and what we go through, and that he is a God that we can trust.